Have you ever set goals with the best of intentions, only to then not take action towards accomplishing those goals? It may start with a great excitement about a future that you have envisioned for yourself. You believe that if you can see this goal through, that it will bring a lot of happiness and joy. You promise yourself, this time it will be different. This time I will not fall back into my old habits and I will see my goal through. And yet, something happens. Life gets in the way, you lose that initial spark, and somehow your goals sit on the dusty shelves of best intentions. You're not alone. A lot of us experience this intention trap where the gap between our intentions and the goals we want to accomplish grows wider and wider. In this video, we'll talk about 3 strategies that can help address that intention trap and bridge this gap so that you can accomplish whatever you've set your mind to. First is called implementation intentions. This is a fancy psychology term from 1990s, which basically is talking about an if-then strategy. Instead of a high-level goal that you've set for yourself, with the best of intentions, of course, implementation intentions help you get to the specific ways you will implement that in your daily routines. So for example, let's say there's a leader who has a goal that they will provide timely and concrete feedback to all their direct reports. That's a great intention and that's a great goal. But the best way to make sure this person can be successful in this goal is they will set if-then criteria. They need to know when is it that they will provide this feedback. What will be the cue or the trigger? The trigger may be when they observe remarkable behavior. They want to reinforce those things. That is a good one. What if they observe something that is subpar performance? Perhaps the quality of the work is not at the level it needs to be, or the way somebody has behaved or approached a certain topic or person is not acceptable. Those are things you want to correct. All these cues become concrete, clear ideas. When I observe this, I will then do what? Well, most likely you want to set a meeting with this person to have a confidential conversation where you ground the feedback in the behavior you observed. You make sure that you talk about the impact it created and give an opportunity to this person to correct their behavior. So this process of implementation intention, where you know exactly when, which is the if, the cues, then what you will do in order to give the feedback, which is book a meeting within 24 hours or 48 hours and share observable behavior so that it's not just a subjective opinion. A lot of people get that far, if then, but implementation intentions invite you to go a step further. This concept invites you to think about, okay, what are the obstacles or barriers that may come in my way which would disallow me from living this intention? Now, the most common thing I can expect with this leader or any other leader is their very busy schedule. Most leaders are just humming through their day, going from one meeting to another. So imagine this leader is attending a presentation and they watch their direct report do something remarkable in the way they engaged all the stakeholders. So they need to get that feedback. This is one of their cues. But they have schedule packed with meetings for the next 48 hours. Anticipating that their schedule may be a barrier, they will think, okay, even if my schedule is intense, I will make sure I book a 5 to 10 minute call or a Zoom meeting or a walking meeting with this person. This is a priority. So the schedule does not become a barrier to not living the goal of giving timely feedback. Another possibility is a lot of people find it really difficult to provide constructive feedback, especially if they have given that feedback to the person multiple times. It takes a lot of emotional labor to remind somebody in the most respectful way what is not acceptable and what needs to be changed. Knowing this, the person can anticipate that if I struggle with that, how will I overcome it? Perhaps they want to practice it with a coach. Perhaps they want to practice it on their own, visualizing giving that difficult feedback. And they can ground it into a checklist. Am I talking about observable behavior? Am I talking about what happened as a result of? So the impact. Those are things that will give them confidence that this is not a subjective judgment. So implementation intentions identify the cues of when you will do the new behavior or the goal. It tells you how you will overcome the barriers. And the last thing is it invites you to think about how is it working. So maybe on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, you want to take stock of how well you're accomplishing your goals. And if something is not working or there's a certain barrier that you did not anticipate, you build that into your implementation intentions. You do this, your probability of accomplishing the goal skyrockets. So that's a first. The second strategy is having an accountability partner. Researchers looked at 4 different groups of people who were trying to work towards a goal. One of them had this beautiful goal but did not write it down. Second one wrote down what goal they wanted to accomplish. Third group went even farther. They actually broke down the exact steps they will take to accomplish that goal. Not exactly implementation intentions because they did not anticipate the barriers and how they will overcome them, but they had a concrete plan. And the last group not only wrote the concrete plan, but told the plan to a friend or a coach and then shared this information on a regular basis, perhaps weekly, looking at how they're doing in accomplishing their goal. Would you be surprised that the group that outperformed every other group was the group that had an accountability partner? There is incredible benefit in having someone that you have confided in terms of holding you accountable. How does that work? Just saying out loud increases your commitment. Why? Because we as humans want to be perceived as consistent. If I tell somebody that I'm going to do something, I am much more motivated to walk the talk because I want to be perceived as consistent. So telling somebody increases your personal desire to not drop whatever goal you've shared with them. That's one piece. The other piece is that it actually more than doubles the probability that you will persevere through the hardships of accomplishing any meaningful goal. Now, the difference is the study specifically looked at friends, but there's a difference in sharing with a friend, which is not bad, it's a great strategy, or sharing with a coach. Friends have a vested interest. They know you, they have their own perceptions. When you're sharing this with a friend, you may invite them to say, I don't want you to judge, I don't want your feedback, I just want you to hold me accountable. And you don't even have to give me any input, but on a weekly basis, I want to come to you and share how I'm doing. Because that's essentially what a coach would do. A coach may invite you to consider different options. A coach may invite you to identify and anticipate the barriers. But a coach will not be directing you or giving you feedback or judgment about whether you're accomplishing your goal or not. So there are benefits of non-judgmental, confidential space created in having that conversation and confiding what your goal is to another person. But the most important part in this story is have someone that you share your intention with and break that down into concrete steps. Let them hold you accountable. See how you internally feel much more motivated to continue to persevere towards accomplishing that goal. The third strategy is called the progress principle. This is based on a book by Teresa Amabile and Stephen Kramer. And in this book, they talk about people being motivated the most by seeing progress, small wins. We live in a culture where, yes, we have many goals. We have daily goals. We keep accomplishing one thing after another without taking the pause to recognize what we have accomplished. So what they're inviting us to do is take stock of what progress we're making towards that big goal. A few videos ago, I talked about process goals versus outcome goals. If you have a large, ambitious, big, hairy, audacious goal, it's probably going to take a long time to accomplish. And in order for you to persevere, you will need to see progress in small milestones. So having that intention of paying attention to what is working well and what progress you're making is key. A lot of people, however, set with their best intentions, get so demotivated when they fail. But the reality is, the researchers, Amabile and Kramer, they say you cannot expect progress to be a straight line. You have to account for the setbacks and the plateaus. After all progress is punctuated. If you walk towards your goals knowing and expecting these setbacks or plateaus, you're going to be so much more resilient to continue to persevere. So in the leader that I talked about, if he or she or they end up missing giving feedback at a critical moment and they think, oh my God, you know what? Too bad. There goes my goal and my intention. Well, it's not lost. One slip or two slips or three slips does not mean that you stop and give up on your goal. It's possible you're doing a dance of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And if you zoom out, you will see you are making progress. In fact, in the case of feedback, it's never too late. If it's 3 weeks since that event happened, you could still have a conversation with a person to say, I want to take you back to 3 weeks ago. During the presentation, I observed X. And I know I'm so sorry I couldn't give you feedback right away, but I wanted to bring your attention to whatever your feedback is. If you can adopt the progress principle, you are going to be so much more resilient in continuing your journey and persevering despite whatever setback or plateau comes your way. Now, we've talked about the 3 strategies: implementation intentions, having an accountability partner, and the progress principle. In the last video, I had talked about the huge compounding effect of 1%, 1 degree deviation. That is also true in this case. If you give yourself the grace to persevere through, the changes that you accomplish will compound over time, increasing your capacity to accomplish any goals. In fact, a few months ago, there was a research that was done with a randomized control group of students, and the goal was the university wanted these students to attend a lot of classes. They had a control group that was told, please attend classes, and then there was an experimental group that was taught how to create implementation intentions. Now, given that you know it's one of the strategies to bridge the gap between intention and goal, the group that was taught implementation intentions was 76% more likely to attend classes as compared to 66%. You're like, yeah, that's a decent difference, but not that big. But you know what's fascinating? By week 11, which is towards the end of the semester, that gap had widened so much more, such that the rate of attendance was nearly 5 times higher in the implementation intention group as compared to the control group. I hope that inspires you to continue to persevere towards your dreams and you found value in this video. Please share it with someone else who's trying to work towards a meaningful goal, and thank you for watching.